We've been driving around, singing songs way too loud because we wanna. Picking up all our friends, fill up the car till it bends because we wanna. Yeah, we just wanna have fun. The trunk's full of wine. We're gonna stay up, have the time of our lives. The night is in.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Sonya's Prep. Today I wanted to take you along on how I prepped for my dinner party. I was hosting it and I really wanted to incorporate only appetizers in this dinner party. I just think having a variety of appetizers on the table looks so pretty, and I think people enjoy just munching on little small things, and it really was such a great hit. I can't wait to take you along and show you how I made everything. If you like these types of videos, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, and if you're new here, I would love it if you would subscribe. Now let's get into the recipes. The night before the event, I decided to make my sourdough French baguettes, not because I wanted to, but because I was really afraid that I wasn't going to find any fresh bread or fresh baguettes in Trader Joe's, because I was hosting this on Memorial Day and for some reason I thought that they wouldn't have it in the stores. But I was wrong, of course. They did have fresh baguettes. My husband went and checked. But anyways, I ended up making them and they were perfect, delicious. I have a recipe for you for regular baguettes that I've already filmed. I'll have that video linked in the description box if you are interested. Another thing that I love to do the night before a party is to have my tablescape all set up. So as you see here, I have my plates and boards all set up on my dining room table with little stickies to show me exactly where I'm going to be putting what, which is very, very convenient. I left my sourdough to rise overnight, and this is what it looks like when I woke up in the morning. It's nice and fluffy and airy. Sourdough bread is just really, really amazing, and one of these days, if enough people are interested, I'll definitely make another video for you. And so in the morning, I took out all the dough and I proceeded to do my stretch and folds, and I'm gonna shape it right now with the help of my little daughter into these little baguettes. After shaping, I'm going to place the baguettes into the refrigerator to have the cold fermentation process happen, and then I'll be baking them a little bit later in the afternoon. While that's happening, my little girls wanted to help out as well, so I gave them some cherry tomatoes so they could slice in half. Now I'm going to be marinating all of the meat. So I have 2 pieces of briskets here. Each brisket was less than 3 pounds. I would say each one was about 2.5 pounds. And this is the way that I'm going to be marinating it. I have some salt, black pepper, cumin, coriander, steak seasoning. You could really put pretty much anything onto these briskets. I'm going to be making them in 2 different ways. One I will just keep with my seasoning, and the other one I'll be placing some Dougie's barbecue sauce. If you don't have a Dougie's barbecue sauce in your area, in your stores, you could just simply add in any barbecue sauce that is your favorite and it'll work just fine. Once all the seasoning has been put onto the brisket, I place in some oil over the top of the brisket that just has these seasonings over it. I don't feel like the other brisket needs any kind of oil because there's tons of barbecue sauce over it. Now that one side is perfectly seasoned, I flip everything over and do the exact same thing on the other side. It's preferable to marinate your meat, obviously, as long as possible. I should have even done it the night before. I just didn't have them thawed out, so I'm doing it early in the morning so that they have a good couple of hours in the refrigerator to just get fully marinated. Now I'm going to be making some Frankston blanks. I saw this on Instagram and I thought it was very clever to wrap whole hot dogs into puff pastries and give them a little slice over the top, which I'll show you later. So I simply just take any kind of puff pastry that will hold a whole entire hot dog, and if it doesn't, I just slice a big puff pastry dough that you just saw me do. I slice them and make it fit into the hot dog, like mimicking a bun, and I wrap them really well, tighten all of those ends together, and place them onto a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. Now that all the hot dogs are wrapped, I take my knife and slice them just to the middle, and I make about 4 to 5 cuts, and they just look perfect. Before baking them, I egg wash them and place some sesame seeds over the top. Well, at least my little baby is doing it right here. So as you can see, hosting is not the easiest when you have little ones around, because they do want your attention. So I really try my best to incorporate them into my prep. They're having fun, they're right next to me, and it's a win-win situation. I bake them in a preheated oven set at 400 degrees between 25 to 30 minutes until they're perfectly golden and ready. The next appetizer prep that I'll be sharing with you is this meat pizza. My husband, I think, got this from Costco. It's a beef pastrami, and I really put or use any kind of deli that you prefer. I'm just going to be heating up my skillet over there in the back with a little bit of oil while I get the meat ready. If you don't want to use any kind of deli, the brisket would also be a great alternative as a meat pizza. You could just simply take the brisket that you've cooked up, shred it, and place them on top. I slice the pastrami and the corned beef into fairly small pieces and get them ready to be fried up in the skillet. I saute the deli for about 5 to 10 minutes until I see that it starts to get crispy, and then I add in my favorite barbecue sauce, which is the Dougie's barbecue sauce. I give everything a good mix, and when it starts to thicken, I know that it's ready. I turn off the fire and place everything into a foil tray that I can easily heat up right before the party starts. To get that delicious sticky barbecue sauce off the pan, I put in a 1/4 cup of water into it and just scrape off all those delicious bits and add them into the pastrami. Now I'm making Pico de Gallo, which will go perfectly with the brisket tacos that I'm planning to make. So as you can see here, throughout the day, whenever I have a chance, I do a little bit of prep and place everything into the refrigerator so that it's perfectly ready for me with no stress right before the party starts, so that I could just assemble everything at the very last minute. For the pico de gallo, I used 2 tomatoes, some cilantro, some red onion, and I put that to the side and I will dress it later on. Now I'm making some guacamole. I love these multicolored cherry tomatoes from Costco. It just makes everything pop. I have these scallions growing in my backyard, so it's very convenient. So here I have the cilantro, the tomatoes, scallion, some garlic and lemon, and a bunch of avocados that I'll be placing into a bowl and giving them a very rough chop. I don't like to get them to be too mushy. I want to have a little bit of texture to them. So as you'll see here, I'm just very lightly scooping them out, and then later on I'm going to be using a knife and very lightly scoring the avocados inside of the bowl. I added in about 1.5 lemons, seasoned it with salt and black pepper, gave everything a very nice mix, and the avocado is ready. To the bruschetta, I add in those multicolored cherry tomatoes, some cilantro, red onion, salt and black pepper, and a good glug of avocado oil. Mix everything well and place them into the refrigerator until I'll be ready to serve it. The baguettes have been in the refrigerator for about 6 hours now, and it's time for me to bake them. I noticed that they lost their shape just a little bit. This was my very first time making sourdough baguettes, so I just reshaped them, placed them back into that baguette pan, and let them rest for about 30 minutes, and I baked them, and they were just perfectly delicious and amazing. I preheated my oven to 500 degrees. I used a scoring knife and scored each of the baguettes. And to bake them, I needed to create steam. So I had a pot inside of my oven getting nice and hot. And right before baking, I'm going to be adding a full cup of water, and that'll create a lot of steam and help the baguettes have that beautiful crusty exterior. While the baguettes are cooking, I'll be making my tahini and hummus. I use this tahini paste and add in equal parts of water, a little bit of salt, some dry dill, and 1 garlic clove. And I pulse that until everything is nice and blended thoroughly. I place the majority of the tahini into a separate bowl, but I do reserve a little bit so that I can make my hummus with it. So I add in 1 garlic clove, a good squeeze of lemon juice, 1 can of garbanzo beans. I season it with some salt and give everything a very good blend. I added in a little bit of avocado oil, about 1 to 2 tablespoons, and continue to blend everything. I found an amazing trick to making the most fluffiest hummus is by adding in 1 to 3 ice cubes. So as it's pulsing and blending, I just add in 1 cube at a time, and it's just the most airiest, amazing hummus. You've got to try this technique. About 4 hours before the party starts, I place in the briskets to cook into the oven. I set the oven to 400 degrees and let it cook for 4 hours. And this is how my baguettes have turned out. Now I'll be making my salad dressing that I'll be using throughout the dinner party. As you'll see, I have some mayo, salt, black pepper, some oregano, cilantro, lemon juice, and basically I don't have the exact measurements of each of those items. It really depends on the amount of dressing that you'll need. Just keep tasting and add in whatever you feel is missing in the dressing. To thin the dressing out a bit, I add in about 2 tablespoons of water, close the lid to the food processor, and blend it all up. I place it into a glass bowl, put it in the refrigerator so that it's all ready and set for me right before the party. Now I'm going to be getting started on cutting up all the lettuce. I'm going to be using a lot of lettuce for this party, for the salads, as well as for decorative pieces on top of my platters. I'm going to be making 2 separate salads. One is a Caesar salad that's to your left, and the other one is going to be a nish-nash salad with different types of vegetables and crackers that will go over the top. One of the baguettes I'm going to be slicing up thinly and placing it into the oven to toast up, and that I'll be using for my bruschetta. One of the last things that I'm going to be prepping is this fruit salad. So as you can see, I tried to prep as much as I can ahead of time so that when it comes time to actually, serving everything at the party, I just have to put components together and I don't have to be rushing around and making things last minute. 4 hours have passed and the briskets are perfectly cooked. The way you can test it is by placing 2 forks inside, and if they easily shred apart, you know they're ready. I love adding lettuce or mixed greens to my platters or serving plates because I really feel that the star of the show, which is the meal that you will be serving on top of it, really makes it pop. The green contrast with the other foods is just such a beautiful way of showcasing your meal. About 20 minutes before the guests are set to arrive, I set out these mini tacos, place some lettuce inside, and get everything that I can possibly get ready now so that when everybody starts to arrive, I can actually set out my meals. Because I've labeled every single one of my serving plates, it makes it a lot easier for me and gives me minimal stress to know where to put what. So I really recommend that tip. It really just takes the stress out of it. I'm not running around thinking where do I put what because I already did that the night before. I'm starting to plate up my salad, so here goes in the hummus, and I make a well in the center of it and I place tahini inside. For decorations, I put in some spicy paprika on one side and some za'atar seasoning on the other. About 5 minutes before all the guests are set to arrive, I get started on my bruschetta. I place the sliced toast onto a serving plate. I add in my salad dressing over the top. As you'll see, this salad dressing has many purposes in this party. So one of them is by placing them onto the bruschetta, and then I'll be adding in the tomato dip that we've made earlier. At this point, some of the guests have started to arrive and I start to plate my hot appetizers. So I toasted up this bread from Trader Joe's in the oven until it was nice and toasted. I have everything already preheated in my oven, so the meat pizza mixture that we made earlier was already in the oven, heating up so that it was all ready when all the guests were arriving. The briskets were also in the oven. Everything was staying nice and warm. And on top of the meat pizza mixture, I'm adding in some arugula, some jalapeno peppers, some barbecue sauce, and that white dressing that we've made earlier. I also love adding in some balsamic glaze over the top. It adds a beautiful pop of color and is very delicious. At this time, the majority of the guests have arrived and I am comfortable starting with my briskets. So I shred up the barbecue brisket over here and I'm going to get started on making the mini tacos. And as you'll see here, it's all hands on deck. A few of my very special guests were nice enough to offer their help, so I was not joking earlier. It is all hands on deck. There are 3 people making these tacos. So I put in the briskets, the guacamole is going in, the pico de gallo is going in, and each one is topped with a few spicy jalapenos. And of course, to finish everything off, I drizzled on that white sauce. For the rest of the brisket, I placed it on a large wooden board and I lined that first with a lot of arugula. I placed the brisket in the middle and French fries and onion rings all over the side. The French fries and onion rings were the frozen kind that I just popped into my oven and baked it. All of this was all ready for me in the oven before the party started.
We've been driving around, singing songs way too loud because we wanna. Picking up our love friends, fill up the car till it bends because we wanna. Yeah, we just wanna have fun. The trunk's full of wine. We're gonna stay up, have the time of our lives. The night is young, don't need anybody else. We came to party all night long, and we don't need no chaperone. We don't need nobody's attention, yeah, we just wanna dance.
I was so happy with how everything turned out. It was better than how I anticipated it and expected it. This was my first time doing all appetizers, and I think it's really the way to go because people just munch and pick on little items, and it's just a variety of deliciousness. The one thing that I kept going back and forth on for this dinner party was if it should be a sit-down event or if it should all be buffet style. I usually always do my parties buffet style because I think it just makes it more homey. People schmooze and walk around, but I don't know if the guests usually like that style. Leave me a comment down below. When you host, do you prefer doing a buffet style? And when you are a guest, do you prefer buffet styles or sit-down events?
So as we go, worried as when no one knows just how we want it. Going left, going wanna dance on our own. We came to party all night long and sing along to every song. We don't need nobody's attention, don't need nobody else in our zone.
All of these gorgeous and delicious desserts were made by every single guest that arrived, so I definitely had help in that department. I hope you all enjoyed this video and I hope you got some inspiration from it. If you did, I would love it if you would give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new.
We've been driving around.